Welcome to my work solutions, hopefully non-waffle, not over the top and trying to draw it out like a lot of places do, for the Eduqas/WJEC paper, component 1, paper 1, in other words, that means non-calc, from the summer 2022 series, so let's shut up and get on with it. Number 1, calculate the following. Obviously, at this stage, mental arithmetic, or if you want to do some working out, every option's open to you, as long as you get full marks, because you don't want to be losing easy marks at this early stage. So 3 times 4 is 12, and then include the 2 zeros. Divide by 1000 means divide by 10 3 times, or if you've been taught to, jump decimal points, not strictly the politically correct way, shall we say, but if it works for you, I don't care. Do whatever it takes to get the right answer. Part treble I, BIDMAS as always in play, so the 4 times 3 needs to be done first to give you 12, which when you add the 10, final answer 22. When you subtract a negative, your teacher will have various ways of explaining why. I'm not here for why, okay? When you subtract a negative, it's 6 plus 7. It's 13. I'll do the whys when I eventually get all my past papers done. I will do some more vids, and negative numbers will definitely be one of them. Lots of ways to convert to percentages. My preferred, certainly when the 25 on the bottom, when you have a factor of 100, multiply the top and bottom by 4 in this case. And when you get it in that form, out of 100 is a percentage. Decimal, how do you get a decimal from a percentage? Divide by 100. So 0.87. It says the value, so no need to be a smart aleck with your plus and minuses. We just need a 7 for your answer. So number 2, basic probability. Circle one term from the box, so obviously to run through, impossible is down there, unlikely is in here. They've actually put them in order, quite giving away sort of thing. If you didn't know, they've given it away. Part B, we've got a fair spinner, so every section is a 1 out of 6 chance. So the chance of getting a number greater than 13, there are none. That's 0 out of 6. Make sure you put your mark on 0. An even number, there are 2 of them. In other words, 2 out of 6. Yeah, it cancels down to a third, but in this context, in this case, no one cares. Circle the smallest value. You could do it by a process of elimination. Hopefully a few of these you already know their decimal equivalents, and with the idea that now they're in decimals, you can just think of them as cash. So 50p, 35 pence, 31 and a bit pence, 75 pence and 60 pence. Your smallest is the 31-ish pence. Part B, BIDMAS again comes into play to work out each bracket separately. 25% means a quarter of a number, a quarter of 48, in other words, divide it by 4. And here, how do you find 2/5 of a number? Find a fifth by dividing by 9, by dividing by 5 to get 9. Blew it there, didn't I? And then double because the top is not 1, it's a 2. So in other words, you're getting 18 there. 80, add the 12, 92. Take away the 18 mentally, or column addition, subtraction if you want. Number 4, these listing things, they take forever, but they're easy marks. The fact is there are 4 girls, 2 lads. Make sure you end up with 8, including the 2, so you need 6 more. So we've done Poppy. It goes Ruby, Ruby, Sally, Sally, Zoe, Zoe, and TW alternates. Miss Watkins, equally likely, so they're all 1 over 8. So the fact of S and T, doesn't matter who they are, they're each 1 over 8. Yes, I'm terrible with my 8s on this electronic pen. Number 5, the coordinates of B. Don't forget you're counting always. Coordinates are counted from your origin. So it's left 2, minus 2, and up 5, positive 5. I'll not scroll down too much. We'd like to see the grid. It has one line of symmetry. That's your line of symmetry. It says, mark the position of D on the grid, because the idea is BD is 6 centimetres, and this grid is, whether your teacher's reduced it or not, it's a 1 centimetre grid, so D needs to be down here. In other words, 6 squares away. Now, when it comes to still part B, when it comes to the length of CD, this really does depend on lots of factors. If your teacher's reduced it to A5, it'll be a lot smaller. And also, if you're doing it on a reproduction like mine's a full-size reproduction, but there is a slight difference between the original exam papers, because the original exam papers, it's exactly 5, within a tolerance of plus or minus 2 millimeters. When I measure mine, my full-size print-off, I get 4.8, which is close but not quite the same. It's definitely not 5 on mine. So basically, be generous to yourself, or if you're marking someone else's, it depends on how it's been printed. Number 6, Eduqas must be getting shares for clip art. Only people my age will remember what clip art is. It's stupid pictures that have no meaning. Anyway, a grill is large enough to cook 20 kebabs. Okay, whatever. The following is a formula. We're cooking 10 kebabs. Again, bid mass must come into play. We need to do 2.5 multiplied by 10 first. Then we add on the 16 minutes. So the total cooking time, 41 minutes. Part B, working backwards. Instead of plus 16, take away 16. That gets you down to 10. You then need to do divide by 2.5. Might not be the easiest without a calculator, but think about how many times does £2.50 go into £10? It's 4 times. No matter how you do it, it's 4. Number 7, we've got a train journey. All right, it was 8% of. 8%. There we go. Of means times 300. And a variety of ways of doing this. You could do top times top straight away. It'll give you 2,400 over 100. You could have pre-cancelled, but at the end of the day, how many hundreds are required? It's nice and straightforward. Part B, lots of waffle. One thing at a time. Loads of information, more nonsense. Clip art. Bob's taking his grandson. We've got an adult ticket, £15. Okay, so the total cost without a rail card, £23. Bob's going to buy an adult ticket. He gets a third off. A third of 15 is a fiver. So it's now going to cost him £10. Or you could say £5 off, depends on how you want to do it. Child ticket is £8. We get 60% off. So let's go for the child. 10% divide by 10. That's 80p. So 60% times it by 6. is 480 pence, or £4.80. Now it does say, how much does Bob save? It's in bold, so it's more interested in his savings. So it's the £5 from the first part, and that's his savings. It's those two. It doesn't ask for the new total, the cheaper price. It's the £5 savings and the £4.80 savings. He saves £9.80 with his rail card. We've got working in a restaurant here. Weekday £9 per hour. 65 times 9 is 585, or do it your own way, repeated addition, area method, whatever you choose. How much should it be? Don't forget, if we were doing 9 times 6.5, there's one digit in the question that follows the decimal point. There should be one digit in our answer, which follows the decimal point. 58.5, but because it's cash, we stick on the 0. Part B, the pay's higher at weekends. She earns a total of 314, including tips. So I'm going to do column subtraction. You could do add-on, it doesn't matter. Again, however you get to £154, that's her actual pay. Doesn't include tips. She's getting so much per hour for 14 hours. Your job is to work out how many 14s go into 154. Again, repeated addition is fine. I know some people don't like long division. Don't do it then, because 14s into 15 is 1 remainder 1. Just do it as a short, because the numbers are easy. And there we go. 11 is her pay rate. Well worth wrapping it up. £11 per hour. On we go. Number 9. We're selling eggs, small and large boxes. Write an expression in terms of eggs for the number of large boxes he sells. It's there. If you sell X amount of small, 8 more large, there's your amount of large. Done. Write an expression in its simplest form for the total. Total means you've got to add. If we're focused on small boxes, it'll be 6 lots of X. If we focus on large boxes, it will be 10 lots of this. So there'll be 10 X's and there'll be 80. Not yet simplified. Simplify your X terms. That's your 3 marker. 16X plus 80. Number 10, you could try pre-cancelling. I wouldn't bother. You've got 2 cubed on top, 2 times 2 times 2. You've got 6 squared on the bottom, 6 multiplied by 6. And keeping it simple. Now you can cancel down. They're both even, halve them. They're both even, halve them. But there are a few ways of getting to that answer. As long as you get to it, it's all good. Number 14, the old mean, median, mode, range, averages, wordy as heck question. There are 5 children in the family. That's signified, so doesn't tell us anything new. 2 of the children are the same. The others different. So we haven't got 3 the same. We've got 2 the same. And now the middle line comes into play. If the mode is 14, there has to be a couple of 14-year-olds. The range is 5. Well, if the youngest is 12, the oldest, you can stick it straight in, is 17. There's no other restrictions. So where you put these 14s are up to you as long as they're adjacent and not with a gap. So there are multiple correct answers here. You could have a 12 again. No, not a 12, sorry. 13. And then in go the 14s. Obviously, that 13 could just as easily be a 15 if you move your 14s down one, and that 15 could also be a 16 because there's no restriction on what the median is. So there's your three possible answers. All are listed on the mark scheme. Part B, again, waffle, waffle, waffle. Whatever, doesn't tell us anything. Don't bother reading that until you know what you're reading it for. When he pays the bill, okay. Buy any four, cheapest two free. Where are they? There and there. £6.30, £6.80. We're not paying for them. Estimate. So he is paying. We'll call that 9. We'll call that 7. Another 9. And we'll round that one up to 10. All them added up as a list or in pairs. £35. Job done. On we go. Total cost of the gas used in 2019 was £432 to work out. So again, loads of waffle. It really means divide by 12. Hopefully you're familiar with your 12 times table, but always use short multiplication. Don't bother with this minusing nonsense. 12s into 43. 3 12s are 36, with a remainder of 7. Oops, come on, pen. 12 into 72 goes 6, and that's all it wanted. £36 per month. More waffle for B. Mo's working out the cost. Great. Telling us nothing. 30 days, that'll probably be important. During these 30 days, he pays a fixed charge 20 pence per day. Stop, don't read on. 30 times 20 is 3 2s with a couple of noughts on. Done. He uses a total of 500 kilowatt hours. Mo pays 14 pence for every kilowatt hour. Again, stop. If you want to work out 500 times 14, your best way is 14 times 5. And then, as you'll always do, stick 2 noughts on. So the 70 becomes 7,000 pence, because I'm sticking to pence because I've started in pence. He pays VAT on 5% of the total. Total means add. Adding them, we're getting 7,600 or 7,600 pence. 10% means divide by 10, take a naught off. 5% is halve that. If you're good at halving, great. If not, use bus stop and divide by 2. So 380 pence is the VAT which needs to be added on. Again, bus stop, feel free. But it's 7,680 pence or £76.80 for your final answer. Number 13, more lovely clip art. Don't we love it? Not drawn to scale. You don't say, Sherlock. In a cafe, half a pint is £1.50, so £1.50. Nice to get them associated. 500ml bottle costs £2. 1 pint is 600 millilitres, so half a pint is 300, and that is also not just £1.50, let's call it 150 pence. Show that the lemon crush is better value for money, so you need something to compare. I'm going to go for the value of 100 millilitres. So on the lemon crush, that's divide by 5, 40 pence. To get 100 ml over here, that's divide by 3. So it's 50 pence on the half pint. I'm done. Now, whether you do your working out on diagrams like I've done or down the bottom, examiners don't care. I've shown the lemon crush is the best value. Theo and Jenny, they're investing. They're both in thousands, so let's ignore them. Let's call it 45 and 35 because we've divided by 1,000. To go even simpler though, they're both in the 5 times table. Divide by 5 and divide by 5. Part II, at the end of the first year, they share the total profit. So they are staying, Theo, Jenny, 9, 7, and Jenny is 21,000. 7 to 21 is a multiplier of 3, so 7 to 21,000 is a multiplier of 3,000. Same to both sides. 9 lots of 3 is 27, but stick the noughts on. But take care, answer's not finished yet. It doesn't ask for Theo's amount, it asks for the difference. As you can see, the difference is £6,000. Now be careful for B. There's a lot going on. The next year, the business makes a loss and Jenny sells up. She loses all of her profit from the first year. So her profit is there. So she's losing 21 grand. But there's obviously more to it. Plus 3/10 of her original investment. Her original investment is £35,000. Scroll up, it's up there somewhere. 3/10 of 35 grand. I'll do a bit of pre-cancelling because we can divide the top by 10 and the bottom by 10. So we really just need to work out 3,500 trebled. So you could do repeated addition, you could do normal column multiplication, do whatever you want as long as you get 10,500, which you add on, because that's her total loss. 21 grand plus 10 grand is 31 grand. But don't forget the 500. That's unfortunately her total loss. Question 15, students hate these. I know you do, but just try and, you might sometimes blag the 2 marks, but certainly try and just follow the rules of do opposites, and you might just get that 1 mark out of 2 more consistently. So to make n the subject, leave the n term where it is and attempt to get rid of anything which is on the same side as it. How do we get rid of a plus 5? Subtract 5 from both sides. So even if you don't like the next step, at least you've picked up 1 out of 2. The next step again though is to do opposites. 3n means 3 multiplied by n. The opposite, the inverse operation, being divide. And the easiest way to write divide is over. Stick with those people. They're not worth giving up on. All right, keep persisting. You will pick up marks consistently if you just keep trying inverse operations. Number 16. Horrible one to spot, I think. Part A, not so bad. It says explain why. You could do, let me just grab, I'm not good at technology. Sometimes if you add on north-south lines, these can become a bit more apparent, a bit easier to spot. Hopefully you can now, if you call them your Z angles, whatever you want to, but do get in. I just put alternate angles are equal. Your angle on the top, there's your transversal, P to Q. Angle on the top, angle on the bottom, they are on alternate sides. Alternate angles are equal. Now B is the horrible bit, because you're always looking at the angles when actually the key to it is spotting that if that's 8 and that's 8, you've actually got an isosceles triangle. Now, I'm not going to waste your time by writing out this in full. If you want to see it written out in full, it's on my website. It's on my worked answers PDF. I called it annotated answers or words to that effect. But at the end of the day, the isosceles step is the key. Firstly, the angle PQR, if that's 160, that's 20. Because north-south or angles on a straight line must add up to 180. We know what x is. Part A explained that. So at the vertex of this isosceles triangle, you know that the angle is 120. And there you go. Base angles of an isosceles triangle, that one and that one, they're equal. So if you do 180 angles in a triangle minus the 120 which you know, and halve your answer, you get your value of x. You get the value of the base angle. That's that. You've now got enough to answer the question. Work out the bearing of R from P. So from P means you are stood at P, facing north, turning clockwise. You're turning the 100 and the extra 20. There's your bearing, 120 degrees. Tough spot that, because it looks like it's all about the angles, which it is, but it's the lengths that tell you it's isosceles. 17A, yeah, more clip art, because we really needed a spade. Yeah, we really needed that. Anyway, what fraction of the working day does Brad spend buying plants? Adding these together finds his total time doing other stuff. 7 goes into 14. So there's no need to change the second. From the first fraction, double the numerator and denominator, double the top, double the bottom. You get 6, which means designing and digging takes up 11/14 of his time. So buying plants is the rest. So obviously the numerators should add up to 14. Next, 324 minutes spent on paperwork, which is 3/5 of his working day. Lots of ways of doing this. I go for the idea that 3/5 is worth 324 minutes. 1/5 is a third as much. So let's divide by 3. 108 minutes is 1/5 of Arun's day. We want 5/5 because that will be his full day. So 108, ignore that. 108 times 5 gives you how much time a room uses for its architecture. We get 540 minutes. Once the answer in hours, 54 divided by 6 is 9, so 540 divided by 60, also 9. And there we go. 8a. Make one criticism of the diagram. It's continuous data, really. So when you've got continuous data, in other words, in this case, time, there should not be any gaps. Okay, this is one. You only have gaps for discrete data. That'd be things like, what's your favourite colour or favourite football team, sports team, whatever. When it's for time, weight or heights, continuous data, the bar charts should not have gaps. So any words, sentence, phrase to that extent. Part B. Yeah, we've got 30 students in total. Let's make a mental note of that. We've got 9 doing this, 12 doing that, 4 doing that, and 5 doing that. Use the bar chart to complete the pie chart. 9, 12, 4 and 5. Keep that in your mind. 9, 12, 4 and 5. And we also had the total of 30. What do we need for a pie chart? We need the numbers, the angles, to add up to 360. What we also then need to do is times everything by 12 so we won't have a gap. It's non-calc, so mental arithmetic, times tables or short division, entirely your choice. 9 12s, 12 12s, 4 12s, whoops, 48 I meant. You know I meant that. And there we go. And obviously on here, I'm afraid haven't got an overlay of a protractor. So just make sure that I always draw the easy ones first. So measure your 60. I'm just going to use guesswork. Measure your 48. More guesswork. I'll go from the other line to turn my pie chart around. Measure your 140 odd. 144 is going to look something like that. And then measure your final one should be 108. I think they look a bit rubbish, but you've got a protractor. I've just got my sight and my guesswork. Do make sure you label them clearly with the letters. And like I say, you should be measuring the first 3 sections, and the 4th section should check itself. So if you left, let's say, F until last, there should be no need to measure 144. You should be just checking that it is 144. Number 19, wordy waffle. One thing at a time. We're comparing Germany to USA, and what's in common? Pounds. Pounds meets in the middle. So let's start with Germany. We're going to convert euros into pounds. Our multiplier is 0.9. So we're going to need to do 111 multiplied by 0.9. I'd argue that timesing by 9 is easy enough. So we just need to make sure we have one number after the decimal point. So it'd just be £99. Let's go on to USA. To go from dollars to pounds, we are dividing by 1.25. Now that might send shockwaves and go, oh, how do I do that without a calculator? Come on, folks, look at the number they've given you. 125 divided by 1.25. Hopefully you can tell that it's just 100 times bigger. Because, we needed 2 equal signs out, didn't we? So the USA price would be £100 when it's converted. In which country was it cheaper? You must show all your working. Working is shown. Make sure you tick the correct box. Germany, is £1 cheaper. Number 20. If you're not sure of identifying which ones are correct, just read through them and give yourself a tick or a cross. ABC, that's that, is not equal to CDA. Well, it's a parallelogram. Opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. It's not that. AB equals DC. Well, yes, they are. And AD equals BC. Whoops. And AC is a side of both triangle ABC and CDA. All checks out for me. Triangle ABC is similar. Well, no, it's the same size. It's literally cut in two. No enlargement. They're congruent. They're not similar. So that's a no-no. Triangle ABC is not congruent to triangle CDA. Well, yes, they are. I've just said it. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle CDA. Again, boom, I've just said it. Don't assume because you've ticked two. It's always worth double checking the final one to make sure there aren't any more, because you might have just misread. AB represents the shortest distance from B to AC. AB is there, represents the shortest distance from B. No, the shortest distance is there. It would form a right angle. And there we go. Don't just assume the last one's across. Well worth double checking. Number 21. Work out the volume of the cone. Again, don't get put off by the fact you haven't got your calculator. Formula, look it up on your work. I've not included the formula sheet on mine because it just takes up space. So go and look it up on yours. Volume is a third times pi times the radius squared multiplied by the height. And you might be thinking, how do I do that without a calculator? Well, it's first of all a multiple of pi, so stick the pi in your answer. Spend some time working out 15 squared. You might know it's 225. You might need to work it out, do whatever it takes. Now focus on the third times 30. Well, a third times 30 is a third of 30, 10. And there we go. 2250 pi. Part B. On the grid opposite. So let's just go back up. Actual cone scale drawing 5:1. So to go from the actual cone, because they're the actual measurements, to our scale drawing, it needs to be dividing by 5. We're going to need a radius of 15 divided by 5, which is 3. A height of 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Let's scroll down. I've not drawn them in advance. Plan view. When you look down on a cone, you will see a circle. The circle you need to draw should have a radius of 3. Why am I doing it like this, you may say? Because I'm trying to get it so it's got a diameter of 6. That's not far off. That'll do the job for me. Diameter of 6 means radius of 3. That's my plan view. And the vertex, you could join it in, would basically be a little dot, but the examiners don't care. Side elevation. When you're looking at the side of a cone, you can only see an isosceles triangle. That's the shape. And yet again, radius of 3, or in other words, Diameter of 6 means the base is going to be 6 wide. The height also 6, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there you go. Can be anywhere on the grid, but there's your two answers. Diameter of 6, diameter of 6, height of 6. Diagonals not 6, they're a bit longer. Number 22. We've got a tank, 225 litres of water. First thing to do is to consider your labels. There are no labels. We're going to need labels. We need to make sure that the label on the y-axis goes up to at least 225. So how does that work? Go up in 50s. 100, 150. Boring yet, but I'll get there soon. And there we go. It starts full. So your first cross needs to go on the coordinate 0, 225. If it's emptying 5 litres per minute, the question is how many minutes will it take to empty? And the answer is 45. You could have had a guesstimate for that because obviously 50 times 5 is 250. So it's not going to be quite there. It's going to be there. Hopefully, I normally don't rely on my ability with my electronic stuff. That'll have to do the job. Yours, I'm sure, will be much more accurate than mine. How many minutes does it take to decrease by 40%? So they're giving you that. It's if you're going to decrease by 40, well, let's start off. What's 10%? Divide by 10. If you're going to decrease by 40, how far down here are we going to go? So times it by 4. I just double it because you get to 45 and double it again. So we're looking for it to fall by 90. Well, 100 will be here. That's falling. No, it won't, sorry, because it's 225. It'll be down to 125. There's 125. That's a fall of 100. We need to be a bit above that. All right, we need to be 10 above that to be precise. So your line should be going along from the mark at 140. Deep breath. Again, yours should be at least as accurate as mine. There we go. We're getting the reading. Mine's, as you can see, thickness of a pen. I'll call it 18 minutes. Mark scheme, as always, does allow a little bit of leeway either way. I'm afraid I've not written it down, but let's move on. Number 23. Before you read all this waffle, don't bother. 0.3's on there. That's got to be 0.7. 0.1's on there. That's got to be 0.9. None of that waffle up top helped you. Calculate the probability. Kathy goes cycle, cycle. So that's top line, top line. You must multiply when you go along branches. 6 times 3 is 18. 2 in the question means 2 in the answer. Part C does not on either, so that's going to be bottom, bottom. 0.4 times 0.1. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 in the question, 2 in the answer. Number 24. Not the nicest, but let's follow the logic. 6 identical machines. So 6 machines working for 2 hours will mean 12 machine hours produce 3,000 erasers. We want to produce 1,000. That's a third as many. So we're only going to need a third as much machine hours. But as you can see, we actually have 8 machines. So these 8 machines, if they were working for 1 hour, we'd produce 2,000. That's too much. We don't want that much. We want them to produce half that much. We don't want 2,000 erasers. We want 1,000. So we need half as much time. We need half an hour. That's it, all 30 minutes. And that's your answer. Number 25, expanding. Now, if you don't like loops, do a grid. You've got room for a grid, but I will stick with loops. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 5 times minus 1 is negative 5. And now I do the x terms separately because they're what's going to simplify for the middle. That loop is 10x. That loop is minus 4x. The x terms simplify to positive 6x. B part I, if you're factorising, 2 brackets, it's in the quadratic form. Your job is to think of 2 numbers which multiply together to make positive 21, add together to make minus 10. You need a minus 7 and a minus 3. To solve whatever answers you've got here, you change the signs. And finally, if you're looking it up, if you haven't come across this topic before, do check out on Corbett Maths. They've got a section called Capture-recapture. Okay, it's one of them sort of topics. So there is a little exercise and a little video associated with how to go about capture-recapture. My way of going about it is to simply say, you've got these 12 moths. So on night 1, these 12 moths were caught out of an unknown size of moths, an unknown population. The second night, he recaptured a population of 30, of which 9 were marked. That's how I do capture-recapture. And how do I work it out from there? Algebra. Let's multiply both sides by 30, whilst multiplying both sides by n. The right-hand side becomes 9n. 12 times 30 is 12 threes. Stick a naught on, and I find my n. Divide both sides by 9. 36 divided by 9 is 4. So we get 40. Show that Vikram's estimate was correct. That's my way of doing it. Your teacher might have another way. Some teachers do it by multiplying, by writing, and there's a variety of ways, but that's mine. Comment on how reliable Vikram's estimate is. I'm saying unreliable. Reason being, the first sample of 12, let's be honest, quite small. He then went out on the second night to do 30. So why on the first night was he not doing much more? So I'm saying unreliable because of a small first sample. And there we go. So I hope my no waffle approach has helped out. That's the non-calc paper done. I'm about to do the calc paper. Lucky me. Hope that's helped. See you on the next one.